What is going on, everyone? Okay, the NBA draft is now over. The New Orleans Pelicans, what is going on there? Do they have some assets? Do they have some young players and a promising future? There was a lot that went on. Nasir Little dropped. Bol Bol dropped. RJ Barrett, he goes to the Knicks. Ja Morant goes to the Memphis Grizzlies. They're moving on from Conley. They get their guy. They get their young point guard. They're athletic, fun, and very enjoyable to watch point guard. How about the Hawks? How do you think the Hawks panned out? They got some nice young players. DeAndre Hunter from Virginia. I think that's going to be fun. We're going to take a look into it. We're going to dive into this a little bit deeper. To be honest with you, though, I think that there were better drafts from an entertainment standpoint. It was fun. First 10 picks or so. It died out on me in the middle. I've been on the record, though. With this draft, it seemed deep in terms of players who can give you a nice set of roles. I guess I'm so used to the NBA having a bunch of stashes out in Europe stashing and grabbing all these random guys. There were some notable players throughout the early second part of the draft in the second round. I thought that there was a lot of role players that have potential to be legitimate pieces to teams throughout their career in this draft. But let's start off with the big one, and Zion Williamson going to New Orleans. I mean, this is fantastic for a city. This changes a city. Zion Williamson. How can you hate this kid? I mean, really, the way he carries himself, it's ridiculous. For that age, at that age, he cares about his teammates. He loves the game of basketball. He's a family kid. He loves his kid. He loves his family. He just is one of these people that you connect with. The kid's a nice kid, a good person with a lot of hype in the game of basketball. Let's be real. He's crying to the media about the first overall pick and how much his mother supported him and gave up in her life, and his tears are flowing down his face. Tell me one thing that you hate about this kid. You just can't. There's nothing that you can choose. He cares about his family and friends. He cares about his teammates. When you're in the spotlight from that age, and this is why I always actually really do look at LeBron James and say, oh, wow, how did you really do it? Because from such a young age, these people are brought in the spotlight. They're brought in this huge spotlight, really. I mean, that's the only word I can think of. And they are brought up differently than our lifestyles. I can do whatever I want. Guess what? No one cares. No one cares about what Hunter Brody's doing when I go to the grocery store and I pick up some grapes, when I go get some watermelon. There's no articles on me. ESPN's not following me around. There's been so much hype for Zion in particular since he was young, doing spinorama 360 dunks on Instagram. It's a different type of lifestyle. But to stay true to yourself, to stay true to an 18-year-old kid, it's amazing. It's outstanding. And I'm falling in love with it from a fan's perspective. You're the guy. Everyone wants to be like you. Everyone wants to know what you're talking about. Everyone wants to think about you. But he seems like he's still a little kid inside to an extent. And I know he's going to have to grow up fast playing in a man's league, and I'm not going to that extent, but he seems like he's still himself. The spotlight hasn't changed him. And that's why I'm really rooting for him, and I hope he does a great job. But let's talk about what the hell their GM has done over there in New Orleans. Because to flip Anthony Davis and to get the return when you take a look at it big picture is wild. I mean, not only the Lonzo Ball, the Brandon Ingram, the Josh Hart, the first-round picks, the pick swaps, the 4th overall pick, which you trade and end up getting even more. You get the 8th pick, the 17th, the 35th. You trade them to the Atlanta Hawks, that 4th overall pick. Man, the assets you get from Anthony Davis, I don't know if you could do a better job at the end of the day. he has this team, this organization set up for a hell of a ride, let's say, with a lot of promise. Zion Williamson alone, with the guys they get from the Lakers, and they end up drafting, with the 8th pick, Jackson Hayes, a center who can provide some spark for you, who's got some high ceiling, a nice piece, a nice player, and on top of that, Alexander Walker, the shooting guard from Virginia Tech. Some fun, entertaining pieces. They're going to be enjoyable to watch. I thought to myself originally during the lottery, and when I saw New Orleans get the first overall pick, boo! Boo, I said. How boring is that? How many times am I going to sit there and watch New Orleans play? I don't give a damn about New Orleans. Well, they move Anthony Davis. They make moves happen. They have a fun, exciting team. How is Lonzo Ball going to play? Now look at me. I'm ready to watch New Orleans on TNT at 8 o'clock. As long as it's not the players-only broadcast, I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready for that. They've done a tremendous job. There's just no denying that. You look at the Grizzlies. Ja Morant. I'm pumped to watch this kid play. You saw him during the tournament. He can score. His passing ability, that's his biggest praise. The kid's passing ability is unreal. The way he sees the floor. The ability to execute those passes. I mean, there's people who see the floor, but then they try and make those passes, and it's not good enough at the end of the day. Ja Morant has that special touch with his passes. He sees a lane, the lane's closing, he'll thread the needle and get it there. He drives the lane, he sees a guy in the corner, he'll put it behind his back, and guess what? It's still right in the breadbasket for that guy to catch and shoot. Not everyone can do it. He's long, he's athletic. It's perfect. It's perfect for the Memphis Grizzlies, who move on from Mike Conley, which I think is a great idea. They move on from that hefty contract. They pick up some guys from Utah and Kyle Korver's contract, and then pretty much they got rid of the contract at the end of the day. And they move on from an old point guard, and they get themselves the future of the team. They get themselves a very young, insane version of Mike Conley, and it's a great thing for them. And listen, for that fan base, the Memphis Grizzlies, it's a smaller market, if you will, but they have a passionate fan base. They have people who genuinely care about the Memphis Grizzlies. They have a very supportive fan base, and someone like Ja Morant to swoop in there right at this time, it's going to be exciting for them moving forward. You get to the Knicks and RJ Barrett at 3. He seemed very excited. You saw his raw emotion. He was fist pumping. He was pumped up about it. RJ Barrett's going to be a great player. The Knicks are upset because with the lottery, they didn't get Zion. And listen, Zion in Madison Square Garden with the New York Knicks uniform, we get it. The sports gods, that would have been perfect if the sports gods made it all happen. But it didn't. And they get RJ Barrett. That's no consolation prize. This kid's legit. And I remember heading into the college basketball season, he was the consensus number 1 going into it. RJ Barrett is better than Zion. Zion's this freak. He's this athlete. He's amazing. He can make all this crazy stuff happen. He can block shots from a 50 feet range and swat it out into the stands. But RJ Barrett can score. And the comparison is, and I obviously know that it's a jump, but this is the comparison to style of play, James Harden. James Harden, the way he can score in so many different ways, he can take it to the basket, he can Euro step, he can score with contact, he can shoot the ball from 3. The New York Knicks got RJ Barrett, and it's a nice start. Obviously, they're going after the free agents. Obviously, they're going after, you hear Kevin Durant before the injury, they're trying to go out and get Kyrie. They want the big stars, they want the big names in free agency, which makes sense. They have the money to do so, and it is Madison Square Garden in New York. But they picked up a really fun young player that can help spark it up. They have Kevin Knox, who, in my opinion, has talent, but he is struggling to find consistency with that. He has these games where he drops 20 plus and he looks really good, and then he has a game where he scores 4 points and he looked weak defensively. He needs to figure that out, but they're nice pieces, and what RJ Barrett can bring to the table is something that is intriguing for New York Knicks fans and possibly players who want to go there. Now, I will say this. No superstar is going, man, I'm going to New York because of RJ Barrett. I'm not making it seem it's to that level. But he's a nice, fun, exciting, youthful player with a very high ceiling. And I think he's going to kill it. I think he's going to have a great career and someone who can really score the basketball. And coming from a Sixers fan, scoring the basketball, yeah, that's something I've been looking for quite some time out of our draft picks. We move on to the number 4th pick and the Hawks. They make a trade. They move up. They make the trade with the Pelicans, as I said before, and they go out and get DeAndre Hunter. And they package him up with Trae Young and Herter. I love this pick. The dude can ball. The kid is legit. And from here, it's a little bit of a die-out. But what DeAndre Hunter can provide for the Atlanta Hawks is something that should make this fan base excited for their future as well. Maybe not to the extreme of the New Orleans Pelicans and everything they have fired up, but with what the Atlanta Hawks did, at 4, they end up getting DeAndre Hunter. At 10, they snag Cam Reddish. Now, Cam Reddish is exactly like what I was saying with Kevin Knox. He has this skill set. He has good value, and he's got a good sense of the game. But it comes down to executing, making it happen, going out on the floor, and being determined to do it night in and night out. And that's going to be the toughest thing for Cam Reddish. He has the ability to make plays. I've seen it happen at Duke. But then he kind of becomes quiet, and you don't hear much about him. And RJ Barrett is the reason why they win. And Zion Williamson is the reason why they win. And there was this hype in the beginning that it was going to be these 3 elite stars at Duke. And Cam Reddish kind of took a back seat to that. And he was hyped up to be this player to their level. And he didn't fall to that type of hype. That's just how it all played out. He didn't perform at the level those two did. But you saw spurts of it. There was time where he did take over and he made big threes. And there were also times where he missed a lot of threes and it got ugly. That's the nature of the beast as a young player in this league. And if I'm Atlanta, I'm thrilled about the 2 picks. I'm thrilled that we have this young roster. I'm thrilled where we're going moving forward as a whole. And I say Atlanta, A+, to get 2 players like that, specifically DeAndre Hunter. But I love what they did with Cam Reddish, too. They're taking a shot on a kid that has the skill set. It's can they manage to get that skill set out of him on a consistent basis? And that's where you have to trust your management and your coaching staff to make it happen. The Cavs at number 5, and like I said, this is where the draft kind of starts to spin a different way, and you're leaving your legitimate difference makers and more to good players. Good players. Darius Garland. And the big thing with him is they want to combine his play with Colin Sexton. And I heard Woj talking on the broadcast about this during the NBA draft. And to a lesser extent, of course, but the comparison, they want to have a Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum type atmosphere over in Cleveland with these 2 guards. Played at Vanderbilt. He's obviously a really good player. He can produce at this league. And I think Cleveland, nice spot for him. I think the tandem of having someone like Colin Sexton, who was there last year, who has a year under his belt, can definitely help. And they're going in a different direction, too. Obviously, these teams in the top are going in a youthful movement, a new outlook on the teams because they are drafting where they are. So they have to just build their assets, pick these players that fall to them, and make it happen from there. So I like the pick for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They stood at 5. They picked what came to them. They pick a guard to match up with Colin Sexton so they could play on the floor together and be a tandem, and that's what they're going with moving forward. 2 guards, and they're going to try and duplicate what's going on in Portland. This was the weirdest trade of the night at number 6. The weirdest trade of the night. And it really blows my mind from a Phoenix Suns perspective. They have the 6th pick. They trade the 6th pick to the Minnesota Timberwolves for the 11th and Dario Saric. Coming from a 76ers guy who watched the homie, which is Dario Saric's nickname here in Philadelphia, watch him grow as a player who was supposed to be someone in overseas, come in, be a power forward, be a 4 that we loved and we traded away for Jimmy Butler, being someone who supported him and watched him in this league, the move makes no sense because they pass up on Jarrett Culver from Texas Tech, and if you watched him play in the NCAA tournament, if you watch Texas Tech play all season long, the kid is good, man. The kid is good. He's got size. He's athletic. I'm not giving that up for what they did at 11 and Dario Saric. They picked Cam Johnson at 11, who was projected to go in the late 20s and early second round. The mind process and the thought process on this move is ridiculous and literally unbelievable when you sit there and try and break down how they got to this decision. Minnesota with the snag. Get rid of Dario, who you're probably not going to re-sign anyway because he didn't really pan out there. And the 11th? To get Jarrett Culver? No-brainer. Now, I'm not sold on Andrew Wiggins, and I think he's a big problem there. And all around their roster, I'm not sold on. But this kid, for what they gave up for the package they sent to Phoenix, how did Phoenix agree to this? For everything they got over there youth-wise, Booker, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, they could have added Jarrett Culver to the mix. They add Cam Johnson, and I think Cam Johnson, shooting at the 45% clip from 3 that he did, and the aggressive 3-and-D guy that he is, I think he's a solid piece, but a huge reach at 11. And passing that up for Dario Saric, you take Dario Saric and Cam Johnson over Jarrett Culver. It wouldn't fly if I was the GM. Let's just go as far as that. It wouldn't fly, in my opinion. 7, the Bulls get Coby White from UNC. All right. Fun. I'll put him at fun. He's got the fun-looking hair, right? Fun hair. The Bulls, they feel like they got boned because they had such a bad record, and then the new system comes in for the NBA draft and the lottery pick, so the Bulls feel boned that they end up getting the 7th overall pick after having such a brutal season, and you're in a really tough spot. Do you move future assets up to go out and get someone who you don't believe is going to be franchise-changing? Do you stay where you're at, pick what falls to you? That's what they did. They get a nice little guard from UNC. He has the ability to play make. He has the ability to shoot the basketball. I think they did the right move. You don't want to get over-aggressive because you want to go right now. I read an article on The Athletic about where the Chicago Bulls are now. Where do they feel getting the 7th pick? And they stated they're staying true to their track. They're staying true to the blueprint that they have. Why go out there and try and force moves, give up future assets to go out and say move up from 7 to 4, get a DeAndre Hunter who's going to be a great player in this league, but it's not a legitimate superstar factory to take you over the next hump? Would you rather stay at 7, draft your Coby White, and then use those future assets later on that can become, I don't know, anything really, and go out and get another player that falls to you, instead of moving those pieces to go out and get a DeAndre Hunter? I like their move. I like the fact that they have this process in front of them that they are going to stay with. It's a tough position to be in because everyone wants to win now. Every front office member wants to make moves, make that splashy move, be the guy to get a really valuable player. But if it's not there, it's not there. There's no reason to force something that isn't there. Stay true to where you are. Grab a nice little player who's going to be there. And that's what they did in Coby White. Moving to that middle pack of the draft, you just get some players. And it got boring at times. You watch guys like P.J. Washington go, and that's where I lost a little bit waiting for the Sixers pick at 24, which we ended up trading. And if you follow me, you'll see the videos, the specific Just Sixers videos that I've been pumping out there on Out and Brand and what the Sixers did this draft. And, I wasn't very fond of it, to be completely honest with you. But it is what it is. It's over with. I'm not trying to sit there and cry about it. It's over, and we have our guy, but that's not the point here. Let's talk about some guys who fell. Some players that were expected to go a little bit higher. Nasir Little from UNC fell hard. He fell to 25, though, to the Portland Trail Blazers, and I think that's a good organization to fall to. They're in this mode now where They finally got over the hump of the first, second round when it comes to the playoffs, but they get swept in the Western Conference Finals to the Golden State Warriors. You're in a winning organization, though. You're in an organization that is competing at the highest level possible, NBA championship level caliber to the organization, and they are so. Getting to the Western Conference Finals is no joke. You're in a position to win and go far. Winning atmosphere, winning players, veteran players, elite players. Damian Lillard's an elite player. He makes it happen. CJ McCollum, you're going to learn and grow with experienced NBA players who are in a great mindset of, let's go win a championship. For someone to fall and to have that chip on their shoulder, that extra edge on them, that's the perfect spot to go to. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. There was someone else who slipped a tiny bit. He ended up going to the San Antonio Spurs. Well, let's be real. If I'm a kid and I'm supposed to go high in the draft, I start to slip middle teens, even later teens before the 20s, and I fall to the San Antonio Spurs. I know this sounds silly. Obviously, I would love to go fifth overall in the draft, but Cleveland Cavaliers in an organization that struggles, or you slip a tiny bit and you go to the San Antonio Spurs and go play with Greg Popovich for a little bit. I think I might lean towards that way. Maybe not lean towards that way, but let's not sit there and say it's the worst case scenario in the entire world. I understand the pay might be different from where you get drafted and the contract might be different. That all plays a factor without a doubt. But it's not the worst case scenario to fall and find yourself in Portland or find yourself in San Antonio. It might help at the end of the day. A blessing in disguise, if you will. It will add to the way you develop. Some teams just don't develop players. Some organizations stink consistently. Some organizations are just stuck in this mode. And one of those teams for me is the Charlotte Hornets. So when I watch them draft these kids year after year, and I know that it's a big offseason for them with Kemba Walker, I look at the Hornets organization. Are they ever going to be anything? No free agents want to go to that city. That's no knock on that city. I'm sure they have a good time there. But no free agent goes, I want to go play in Charlotte. That sounds like a fun place to be at. It's going to be a franchise that's consistently stuck there. Where would you like to go? Would you rather fall or would you rather be that high draft pick? Just a fun little question for you. It's something to think about when looking at some of these athletes. Denver, with the 44th pick, ends up getting Bol Bol, and that was someone who dropped big time, this big body. Let's be real, though. This big body when it comes to heights, but a string bean and a half, and he's going to have to beef up. But he knows that. He said it to the media plenty of times. I know I need to beef up. I know I got to get better and get bigger and get stronger. And Denver is a place that I think works out for his favor, too. Listen, they're a team that fought, by the way, at the top of the Western Conference. To me, a faulty fight at the top of the Western Conference. You watch the Denver Nuggets all year. You're sitting there through the playoffs, and no matter their battles they went through, you see them play, and you say, yeah, that's all great and dandy, but they're not legit. They're up and coming, though, and I'll give them that benefit of the doubt. But for them as an organizational standpoint, they went out and got, Michael Porter Jr. last year, who was supposed to be a top 5 pick, but he goes through these injuries, and they take a flyer on him, and they put him under their wing as someone who's going to sit there and just watch the season. Can they do the same thing with Bol Bol? Listen, you're a big guy. You have plenty of potential. You can be something good in this league, but we're going to sit you down. We're going to beef you up. We're going to condition you, and you're going to be a totally different player in a year. I mean, listen, that's possible. And he's watching Joker all the time and seeing him the way they... Now, I don't think, before I get too crazy here, I don't think he's going to duplicate the same exact style of play than what the Joker does with his passing ability, the way he shoots, the way they run the offense through the 5. I don't expect Bol Bol to go to that extreme, but if he watches him and can add more to his game and can get thicker and can be more of a dominating player when it comes to his body structure, then you're playing with something, and that's a team that doesn't necessarily need him right now at this very moment, so there's no stress that you got to get out there and play. You got to go out there and do it now. So that's a positive for Bol Bol. And once again, a chip on the shoulder. There's always chip on the shoulders for the guys that feel like they fell. I was talking to a guy at work and he made a good point. This draft seemed like it was one of those drafts where well-known players from college were getting drafted late. So that kept people intrigued. That kept people engaged. Not so much the random guys thrown out there in Europe. Not those random pro guys that don't play college, they go play pro and try and come over. And it also seems like you're getting a lot of 4-year guys, 3-year guys. I think teams are starting to move in that direction more. Of course, you see the Zions, you see the RJ Barretts, you're not going to pass up on them. But all around, you're seeing 22, 23-year-old guys get drafted. And it's funny, I look at Ben Simmons, he's 22 years old. Some of these kids getting drafted are 23 after playing 4 years of college basketball, maybe mixing a red shirt. But teams are looking in that direction. And maybe they feel like they're more mature. They're ready to go now. You don't have to wait. You don't have to develop them. They're more ready to go now. You still need to develop them. They're not ready at the NBA level yet, but the growth isn't as extreme as it is when you're taking an 18-year-old. And I kind of like it. It's similar to what baseball is doing. You see a lot of college kids get drafted. Instead of the 18-year-olds, the 24-year-olds are getting drafted, 23-year-olds. And you don't have to keep them in the minor leagues so long. You don't have to sit there and wait and see, is he a bust, is he not? Like, these kids are more ready to go than ever. And I love that from a fan's perspective. And I love that their teams, the NBA teams, are realizing that there's value in these 23-year-olds. Even though that seems, wow, 23-year-old rookie, you're 2 years into your career, you're 25, you're almost 26, and you're already there in comparison to being 3 years in the league, you're 21. But when you're looking for a role guy, when you're looking for a guy to come out there and perform and help you off the bench 15 minutes a night, there's nothing wrong with a 23-year-old who played 4 years at Virginia, who played 4 years in the Big 12. Absolutely not. And that keeps me more engaged. These guys out there in, I'm just thinking of a random country, playing in Lithuania, China. They come over here, you know nothing about them. And that doesn't mean that they're not worthy of playing. I'm not going to that level. It doesn't mean they're not worthy of being in the NBA because I don't know who they are. But just from being entertained as a fan of the NBA draft, you see these guys, Eric Paschall, Carson Edwards, Bol Bol going late. You see these players going later in the draft that you watched for years in college. Not so much Bol Bol, but other guys that you watched over the years in college. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you intrigued. I'm a Villanova. I'm not going to go as far as fan, but I root for them. Obviously, because they're at the national level as a local team. I'll root for any Big 5 squad if they make a tournament run. But Villanova obviously is at a different level. I root for them, absolutely. But I watch their players win titles. I watch their players be successful underneath Jay Wright. Well, if I see Eric Paschall get drafted in the NBA, late second round, whatever the case may be, well, I'll tune in on a random night and see if they're on. I'll watch specifically for him. I have more of a tie to it. Now, I don't care what happens, but I like that these older guys are getting drafted and used more. Is my finishing touch on this topic. I am intrigued more. Not that I need that much to be intrigued when it comes to sports. I mean, I watch anything. I'm watching 1964 hardwood classics in black and white on the NBA Network. I'm watching MLB games. There's nothing like a 10:30 West Coast start, but two shit teams at the end of the day. I don't know. I'm spitballing off the top of my head. An Oakland A's Baltimore Orioles game on a Tuesday night on the MLB Network. 11 o'clock. Yeah, I'm tuning in. It doesn't take much for me to be intrigued to sports at the end of the day. So was my original topic even worth it? Yeah, I think it was. Come on. Come on, bros. People want to listen to you. You're right. You're right. Time flies. Time flies. We're already done the NBA draft. One thing that's so dumb with this NBA draft, though, The fact that these kids know they're not getting drafted by the draft hat they have to put on. They walk all up there and, the Lakers are taking the 4th pick and they select. Well, no, they're not. And everyone knows they're not because that trade happened in 2001. And when I say that, I mean, a couple weeks ago, but we already knew about the trade. We know about the trades in advance. So why do they have to walk up there, put on a Lakers hat when they know they're not going to the Lakers, when they know the Pelicans had the pick and then the Pelicans traded it to the Atlanta Hawks? Why can't they just put on a Hawks hat? Because the deal's not technically official? I get it, okay, but still, it looks stupid and it's confusing. Do you know how many times people were confused? Wait, did Minnesota get him or did Phoenix get him at 6? What's the deal with the trade? It just confuses the viewer. You gotta make it better than that. There's no reason to make it that complicated. The trade happened. The kid's going to a different team. Put a new hat on the kid. Give the kid a new hat. Don't put the logo on the bottom of the screen of the team that had the pick 3 trades ago. That's moronic, in my opinion. Moronic. How does that even pass? I should be a GM of this league, and I should be a commissioner of this league, too, while you're at it. Which is also funny. Is he the only commissioner in sports that doesn't get booed? Now, I like him. I think he does a good job with that league. He does better than Bettman does in the NHL. He definitely does better than Roger Goodell does. But it's just sports. Boo the man. It's part of sports. It's a respect thing. If he got booed, he would know it's not because they think he's doing a trash job. It's part of the job. You boo the commissioner. It's the fun part of sports. He walks out with the 1st overall pick. The New Orleans Pelicans select. Boo! Boo! Like, that's what you do. Have we gotten a little soft with the commissioner boo when it comes to the NBA? I think so. But all around, we're past the NBA draft now. Free agency starts soon. Less than 2 weeks. I'm getting a little antsy from the Sixers fans' perspective in my mind. Getting a little antsy. My heart's starting to beat a little bit faster at night. Is he going to stay? Is he going to stay? What's the deal with Tobias? But that's the whole league. Like, there's a lot going on. There's going to be so many moves, so many interesting things. Where's Kyrie Irving going to go? Is he going to Brooklyn? What's Kevin Durant's situation? Is he going to opt out of that player option with Golden State? Or is he going to stay there, collect that $30+ million, rehab the Achilles? Or is he going to opt out and sign back with Golden State? There's so many endless things that can occur. There's so many players that aren't superstars but are nice players that are going to go in different directions to try and chase that ring, to try and win a championship, or just to get paid more money, because some people don't care about winning championships. They're just all about getting paid, and that's fine. If that's your mindset, listen, you're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars. If you don't want to take a $7 million pay cut because you want to get paid and you'd rather get paid extra $7 than win a title, by all means, you're obligated to do that, and I respect your decision. Whatever you want, man. Go ahead. Get yours. There's going to be a lot of role players going around. I've mentioned this before, I'm pretty sure. And if not, it's been something that I believed for a while. When it comes to the NBA, the rankings of the most popular events probably goes the NBA Finals. Just the final series is one. And the off season's probably two. Behind maybe the NBA draft, close with the regular season. And then what? The lottery show and the regular season? Like, your top two is the NBA Finals is one, of course. But your two is the off season. That's just as big as the finals. Because it changes everything. Because this is a sport where one man can change the outcome of everything. Kawhi Leonard leaving the Eastern Conference. What does that do for the Eastern Conference? If that is possible. And speaking of him, he's another guy. You hear he's Clippers, talking to Clippers, the Raptors, those are the top two. And then, of course, Woj throws out the Sixers name as a possibility. And everyone's looking around, are you kidding me? The Sixers? Don't get your hopes up, all right? It's going to be the same thing as LeBron's team talking to the Sixers last season. Remember that? Where he didn't even show up and he stayed at home in L.A. with his feet up, drinking his wine, probably making a Snapchat story. Don't get too fooled now. It's a possibility they talk. That's not enough to get me going. Here's the thing. You can't fool around too much. Because you have Jimmy, you have Tobias. Can't be fooling around too much, Sixers fans. Because if one guy realizes, oh, I'm your second option, see you later. I got another offer that's on the table that's nice. But Kawhi's another one. This is a league where one guy changes everything. So that's why, and understandably so, that's why the NBA offseason is so crucial. Because that sets up everything. The moves that are made now, the trades that occur, the signings that happen. That changes all of Vegas' odds. That changes everyone's mindset. And it's entertaining as hell. Some might even argue that it's better than the finals. Because you know who's going to win in the NBA. And I'm not going to go that far. Definitely not. I think the NBA finals is better, absolutely. But it's coming to a moment here where things are going to get wild, and it's not going to be baseball. That's what's entertaining about this. It's not going to be baseball. What's Bryce Harper going to do? Day 6,543. What's Bryce Harper's decision? We're not going to get to that level. Let's hope not. For the most part, you think by now, after talking with people, you have some sort of idea of the direction you're going to go. You might meet with some guys, but you have an idea of what you're going to do. For example, I think Jimmy Butler has an idea. At the end of the day, he knows what Philadelphia is going to offer him. He knows how much more the Sixers can offer him. He has an idea on what other teams might be interested. This Houston thing cracks me up. Really, where are they getting that money? Of course, teams are interested in Houston. You see the reports. I'm sorry. You know that teams are interested in Jimmy Butler, like Houston. You see the reports. Houston is very interested. Well, no, duh. Obviously. Who's not interested in superstars? Doesn't mean you can land them, though. It doesn't mean you can actually go out and execute and get them. So I think guys like Jimmy and other free agents around the NBA have a sense of who's going to offer them what by now. It's not going to drag out to this elite level. Let's hope not. But you even saw LeBron last year do it. He knew he wanted to go to LA. Yeah, he gave a time of day for some other teams, Sixers being one of them. But he knew where he was going. There's no reason to wait until August to do this thing. Late August. There's no reason. It comes down to one thing for all these players. A good chance to win. But also this, and that's athletes in general, and I don't knock them for it. Why did Manny Machado go to San Diego? $300 million. Why did Bryce Harper come to Philadelphia? $330 million in a long term. I mean, really. Why does Kemba Walker want to stay in Charlotte? That was one thing he said. I want to be in Charlotte. Now, why do you think that is? Because they have a good chance to win? Or Supermax? An obnoxious Supermax? Which is a ton of money? That doesn't mean that there aren't players out there that will take a pay cut, that will go somewhere to win over money. There's plenty of people who do have that mindset, but majority doesn't, and that's fair. Because that's the right way to think at the end of the day, to an extent. If you're valued at a certain degree, if you're valued at a certain amount of money, why take less? Why take less? So, tying this all back into the NBA draft and everything that occurred, who won the draft? It's hard to not say the Pelicans because of the future they're set up with. The first round picks they got, Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, Zion, they still have Drew Holiday. They bring back who did they bring back there? Jahlil Okafor, who had a spurt at the end of the season. They bring in the shooting guard from Virginia Tech. They bring in Jackson Hayes, center. They're set up with these pick swaps later on down the road with the Lakers. Just what they have is absurd, and you got to credit their GM for that. And he's had success in this league before, of course, and we know what he's done in the past, but he's done it again here in New Orleans. It's hard for me to not say them. Another team I thought did well, outside of the Grizzlies getting a good point guard in Ja Morant and the Knicks getting RJ Barrett, which are pieces to be very excited about. When I look at quantity-wise, I have to say the Atlanta Hawks definitely intrigue me to team up DeAndre Hunter with Trae Young to take a shot on Cam Reddish. He has the ability to be special if he can find a way to be consistent in his game. Atlanta has some fun youth to them as well, so I give them a nice check mark for making some noise there. But the Pelicans were number one, probably the Hawks number two, and of course I like what the Grizzlies and the Knicks did because you can't go wrong. You pick players that fall to you in 2 and 3, and they're game changers. Really, they are. They have the ability to be. Let's go to that. They give you the ability to market your franchise with these players moving forward, and I mean, that changes the game. It changes the game. The jersey sales. It's not just what's on the court. As an organizational standpoint, this changes them. And you need to look at it from that aspect as well. I think Minnesota got one nice player in there with Jarrett Culver. It's not like they brought home 3 good players or anything crazy like that, but I thought they had a good draft when it comes to making that move with Phoenix. I don't know what the hell Phoenix did for a core that's young and exciting. I don't know if I loved Cam Johnson at 11. I don't know if they love the acquisition of Dario Saric, who has a role, but a limited role. He's not very athletic. He's slow. I love the homie. I'm not knocking the homie. I had fun with him here in Philadelphia. I don't know what they did, though. I don't know what they did. That's always a big thing with the NBA draft, though. The winners and the losers. Right? And it's always fun to look back after a few years and say, isn't that funny what we thought then? Remember when we went crazy for that move and we said, what the hell are they doing here? And obviously, I will definitely be doing that to see how it all played out on my perspective, especially with the Philadelphia 76ers. But as a whole, what is Darius Garland? How is Coby White? Jackson Hayes? Cam Reddish, he goes to 10. If he becomes this player that he is capable of being when it comes to trajectory, well, what about the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th pick? What about those guys? Would they feel stupid? How stupid would they be? There's always someone like that. Steph Curry. You can look back at who went before Steph Curry when he was picked. There's a player in every draft that gets to that level. Who is it going to be in this draft? Who is going to be the next player you laugh at and say, holy hell, how are you that good? And you're going to laugh at the players before them and say, oh, can you imagine taking Bob Smith over Steph Curry? Yeah, Bob Smith played 7 games. Who's going to be that guy? I love it, though. I love it. The NBA is something else. It's something else because everyone bashes it. Not everyone, but listen, I'm a hockey guy, growing up with hockey players my entire life. That's my friend group. So basketball and hockey, it just doesn't mesh. So I'm around it. But the non-basketball people, the NBA's stupid. There's no way one person should be able to change that much. There's no reason one player should be able to dominate the level that he is. You know who's going to win. The game of basketball is beautiful. And the way the NBA is marketed now, they do a tremendous job. It is a full year-around thing. It goes from preseason in September, October. You get the regular season. You have the NBA Finals. The NBA Finals moves into the NBA Draft. You have your Summer League. There's like a month gap of relaxation from the NBA. It's perfect. It's full. It's a full-time thing. How can you be marketed any better than that? How can you have something somewhat important almost 12 months of the year? And that's why they're so successful. And their players are very marketable. The teams are marketable. They're doing a great job at the end of the day. So thank you so much for listening to another podcast of Sports Talk with Bros. I love doing these. I do. I love breaking out from post-game recaps and some news of the day stuff that I do on YouTube. I love branching out and having it just be broad discussion, ramble, whatever comes to my head, comes out. and I talk to you guys about it. So thank you so much for listening to another episode. Of course, I will be continuing to do these. I will still be bringing on my cousin and some friends and maybe even possibly some subscribers at some point. I think that would be fun to kind of connect all around with my fan base. I think that will be very entertaining to do. So with that being said, thank you so much. See you next time.